Elk hunting, quickly becoming the Western United States most sought after, favored, and a highly debated hunting topic, especially in the archery industry. But a question that I get very often is, what is the perfect build, or what is the perfect gun for elk hunting in the West? Pretty big question, but I got an answer that I think most people would agree with. I'd like to preface this with stating I truly don't think there is one perfect gun, one perfect setup, one perfect build that can cover every scenario, be the best possible option for close quarters, timber, long range, canyon bombing, everything. There's so many different pieces of hunting elk or deer or bear or any big game animal that a gun that I think is really, really good for one application could be considered poor for another. So that is something to consider when you see videos like this or people making claims about certain things. But the thing I would like to touch on is this gun and why I think it is one of the best options or build makeups for elk hunting that suits my needs very, very well, and I think could suit the needs of a lot of different people. So starting off, the first thing to consider is cartridge choice. So what caliber am I going to shoot? What case do I want behind that? How much powder am I going to use? Basically, what is going to actually do the work in killing the animal? Bullet selection can be a really, really big piece. My suggestion is find what shoots the best out of your gun. You can select a style of bullet if you want, and then test a bunch of different kinds from there. You can buy reloading equipment and start building your own rounds like I do for this rifle, or you can go buy a box of ammo off the shelf, shoot it. If it shoots lights out, you are going to be much better suited with a very, very accurate gun and bullet combination. If you can put that bullet right where you want it to be, your odds of success in the field are going to go way, way up compared to someone who is just focusing on, I have to have this bullet for this application and things like that. So this gun is chambered in America's cartridge, or America's new cartridge, and that would be the 7PRC. Just enough recoil to make you have to have good form, but also not high enough to scare you off, make you not want to shoot the gun a lot. Some people will say that a higher caliber, higher cartridge round is going to scare people off of shooting and practicing a lot. I have not found that to be the case with the 7mm PRC, and myself, I routinely put 15 to 20 rounds through this gun a week, which is a lot more than most people do when it comes to shooting their hunting rifles. So the cartridge selection is really important. I would focus with elk more on picking an effective distance and then determining what cartridge you want to build it off. If you are someone who is new and you know you're not going to shoot very far, maybe consider a lower recoiling round that's really going to help you get your form down and get clean. A 6.5 PRC, even a 6.5 Creedmoor, something that's not going to pack a giant punch, is readily available, can buy factory ammunition for, continue to run. My opinion is the 7PRC is the best of all the worlds when it comes to elk hunting, specifically longer range hunting like I do, where I don't want to carry around a big giant heavy gun or have a big muzzle brake on the end that is going to hurt my hearing. So I go with a medium recoiling gun, that 7mm range, and the 7PRC is perfect for what my needs are. Next thing that makes this gun absolutely awesome is the fact that it does not have a monstrous barrel. This is a 22-inch Proof Research carbon Sendero barrel. It's got the sweet wrap. It was a Tika pre-fit, meaning that I was able to get it installed, pre-cut to the gun itself. Didn't really require the use of a gunsmith. If you wanted to do it at home, I have a guy who's good at putting these together, so I had him put mine together for me with the correct gauges to be able to make sure to do it safely. It is a 22-inch barrel. It's kind of that medium range. You go real short, some of the other rounds, not getting quite as much speed out of the gun. This gives me plenty enough velocity to shoot long range with that 22-inch. My bullets are going just under 2,900 feet per second. When you combine it with the can on the end, your total length is going to be 29 inches in the configuration that I have it in now. Doesn't stick up too much on a pack, but is also long enough to get you that additional velocity that you might want for hunting a big animal like elk. Having a can on a hunting gun, specifically hunting for elk, is super cool. The main reason is rarely am I hunting elk alone. I'm almost always with somebody else because elk are big and they're not easy to get off the hill by yourself. You can do it and it is possible, but I have burned myself multiple times using muzzle brakes where I forgot to put in my ear pro or an animal jumped up and I needed to make a quick shot. Boom, bang, permanent hearing damage, 24 to 48 hours of ear ringing. I'm tired of it. I don't want to do it anymore. So, suppressors, I think, are the future when it comes to hunting rifles. They are not as hearing safe as you might think. If you just go shoot fully automatic through one of these things and you're not shooting subsonics, it's not that great for your ears, but low round counts. I still wear hearing protection when I'm on the range, but when I'm hunting, communicating with a spotter, with someone that's with me, you can pull up, make a quick shot, not permanently damage your hearing. This is a modular suppressor that can be used in a 7 or 9 inch configuration, all depending on how you want it to be set up. Has an additional 2-inch piece that you add on to the end of the can. Reduces the sound overall and takes out some of the recoil of the gun. There are tons of other options for cans out on the market. I would do some research of your own and come up with one that you like the best. This one was a good use for me for a lot of different guns, different things. It probably isn't the #1 option on the market, but it doesn't seem to affect my consistency or accuracy at all, and has been very, very useful on the hunting trips that I've taken it on so far. To give you an idea of what this gun is built for is long range elk hunting. By long range, I'm talking maxing out at 800 yards, but want to be very confident and capable in that 500 to 600, even with poor wind conditions, things like that. Get up into that 800 range if everything's good and calm and feel really confident, but that's what this gun is built for. It is not a super, super, super uber lightweight backpacking rifle, though I do backpack with it, and it is not a super heavy canyon bombing rifle where I got 20 pounds in this thing and I don't want to lug it around in the woods. It's a happy medium right in between. So, next thing, it's an integral piece of this particular gun is the stock. So I've got a Macmillan Mountain Tracker Long Range Series stock on here. Couple of super cool features that people don't really recognize or realize until you shoot a lot of different guns and practice at long ranges. This stock is built for long range shooting, but it's very, very light. The total setup of this rifle with the scope, the can, everything that you see here, and a loaded magazine is 10 pounds, 7 ounces. So you're just under that 10.5 pound mark, which can be considered heavy, but for the amount of recoil that this gun has and the stability increase you get with a heavier rifle, it's perfect for that long range rifle shooting setup. It's not so light that Your reticle is moving a lot and it's difficult to get set in, but it's also not so heavy that you just want to leave it at home and not take it with you. If you really wanted to change something, you could take 11 ounces off by unscrewing the can and putting a little cover on the end, or you could go to a 2-3 ounce muzzle brake and still cut that down to being under 10 pounds, which would be a super sweet shooting rifle. I love having the suppressor on the end, so we keep that there. This stock, features that it has that people don't usually think of or recognize, is starting off with the toe line. So the toe of the stock is this underside, the actual flat part down here. It has a very small angle. What that does is when you're shooting off of a rear bag rest or any sort of instrument here, as the gun recoils back, when you have a flat toe on the end, it doesn't want to jump at the muzzle. So as it recoils, it pretty much goes straight back. And if it had a real steep angle, it would want to drop like this. I have an example of that here. This is a different stock that is built for the same rifle. But if you see this steep angle here on the toe line, when you have a rear bag on and you experience recoil in the gun, it wants to slide and it makes your muzzle start to rise up. That makes it hard to track an animal in recoil when you're shooting, because we want to be able to shoot, be right back on target, and see what we're trying to hit. So having a flat toe line is very, very helpful for those sorts of conditions. Next is a negative comb that has a heel of the stock, that's this point, that is above the center line of the bore. Again, what is that for? Recoil reduction. Same thing. So you have a negative comb that allows the butt end of the stock, the actual heel of the stock here, to be above the bore line. So when this gun goes off and we shoot it, it's not flipping up where it'd be way up high and physics is going to make it jump. It keeps the bore line lower into your shoulder so it goes right back into you, allowing you to track a lot better. This stock is built for this gun, was on this rifle originally, and is a pound heavier, which should reduce recoil. But I'm experiencing roughly 30% better recoil tracking out of this stock, which is a pound lighter, because of that flat toe line and that raised heel, which are reducing the overall recoil and jump of the gun. This was still a really good stock. A lot of cool features on this one too, but something like this, it's lighter weight and makes it feel like it's recoiling less to my eye while I'm watching. Super cool. Love it. Another couple of features this stock has is it has a recessed pick mount at the front and also a flush recessed arca rail here at the middle point where the balance point of this firearm is. Being able to throw this onto a tripod, or if you have a bipod that has arca attachment and you don't want it out on the front, you can put it here. If you have a longer leg bipod, kind of bring that whole thing back. But it puts this at the main balance point of the rifle, so you can throw it on your tripod, be really steady, really accurate with that sort of system. This pick mount, when it's on there, if you take the bipod off, because it is flush, it's not going to catch on anything, but it sits up front and is recessed, so it allows you to get your bipod on there but still not be a super big low hanging package. Super cool overall setup. Absolutely love the stock. Because I am a lefty, on this offside it has a flush cup here, flush cup here, flush cup at the bottom, and another flush cup at the bottom up top here for you to be able to put on a sling if you want to. If you carry your gun with a sling, that's a really cool feature. The last one, which I thought was kind of goofy when I got the rifle originally, but has a big palm swell to cure at the stock. So the palm of the hand actually swells to match the contour of your hand on the grip. But it also has this finger stop here. So as you come up, your hand goes to the same spot every time. You're not up here one time and here another and crossing over. You bring your hand up to that same spot, put your thumb in the indented thumb groove right here, and your finger goes right to the trigger, and you're in the same position every time, so you're not going to put in any additional torque. Whether or not that makes a big difference for a hunting type rifle, I've yet to see, but it feels fantastic absolutely love shooting off of it. Another thing that this rifle has that makes it very versatile is the Gunworks Elevate 2.0 bipod. This thing is super sweet, stupid lightweight, and one of the most adjustable bipods on the market. I would say probably the most adjustable for its weight. There are some that are a little bit heavier that have more ability to extend. There are features about them that aren't as good as this bipod is, but it does a couple things really well, and it was designed specifically for hunting. So it has a button on the back that you impress, and you can go from a really tall profile to a mid profile to a big flat profile. You go all the way up to the top and you extend out your twist locks here, and then you impress this button to activate the spring-loaded legs. You can get 19 inches of height. Super cool bipod. I love the speed of the springs to be able to get it out. If you're on an angle, say you're on an angle and you need to have an exact amount of adjustment, you just hit that button and it'll bottom out. Click it in and you're right where you need to be. So for speed, definitely is a super cool bipod. Also can go low enough to make most of your prone shots, which is really cool. Super easy to deploy, and it has one of the coolest features that I've seen on a hunting bipod, which is where the pick rail attachment, you just put it on, kick it over, and you're good to go. If you don't want to carry this around with you all day in the woods, you just want to pull it out and put it on your gun for needs to make a quick shot. Speed of putting it on is not a problem at all. Super cool. This is on a Tikka Action, which is actually a factory rifle. I got this Action with a different barrel on it and the original stock when I was 14 years old, roughly. This thing is buttery smooth. If you can take your gun and tip it down and the action can close, that's something that's super cool. And you can buy Tikkas for not that expensive and slowly upgrade them over time, which is what I would recommend doing if you want to learn how to play around with a gun but still have something that's really good from the beginning. Last but certainly not least, we have a Night Force NX8 4x32. This scope, super sweet. 4 to 32 power magnification range. It has illuminated reticle option. You just impress that silver Night Force button there on the side. The turret on top has extremely well defined clicks. The scope is in first focal plane, meaning that your subtensions within the reticle, the actual hash marks you see, will change as you increase or decrease your magnification range. While they are changing in their size, the distance between hash marks will stay the same, so you're not going to have to worry about guessing how far 1 minute of angle is. As you go to further or shorter distances and change your magnification, it will not change what the holdover is for subtensions. So if you need to hold 2 MOA for wind, you just go 2 hash marks over and you're good to go, no matter whether you're on 4 power or all the way up at 32. Second focal plane, do not have that option. This also has a Revic bubble level sitting on top here. It attaches very nicely onto the scope, works super well, very accurate, consistent, aids in keeping your gun as level as possible when you're shooting at long distances. Even 1 to 5 degrees of cant in your gun can make a big difference between hitting your target or missing. If you use a second focal plane reticle, your subtensions are only accurate at the highest magnification on most of the reticles. If you zoom out, your reticle stays the same size, but your target gets smaller, so it changes the distance that your subtensions are holding. So first focal plane, absolutely the way to go if you want to shoot long range, which for elk, they're big animals. There's a lot of them to be able to hit. That 500, 600, 700 yard mark isn't really out of the question for a lot of guys if you have the right caliber and you have practiced and have trained up your rifle shooting skills enough. Another thing to consider when you're building out a gun, one like this that's made for long range, is it's better to be safe than sorry when getting parts for your gun in terms of them moving and shifting. One little shift or movement in your scope can make a giant difference in where you're going to impact at that 600-700 yard mark. You might be able to do it just fine on a flat range and not have any problems when your gun is sitting in a soft case, but you go and carry it around the woods, bang it around 3, 4, 5, 6 days, go on a backpack hunt, put it in a scabbard on a horse, things have a tendency to move. So scope rings are a really important piece. These are from American Rifle Company. They're a little bit beefier than most guys would want, but they just lock in. They use 55 inch-pounds on their scope screws and on the base screws. So they get a lot of torque in that specific spot. It's a 3-piece, so it has a base underneath, and then these 2 pieces come up and clamp together, and it distributes the torque around the entire scope. Really does a good job of not marring up the scope or making any issues, damage dents, but this thing is rock solid. Combined with the Snipe Force, I don't have any concerns of my reticle shifting, not hitting where I'm aiming when I gotta make a shot in the moment of truth. Weight. Lots of rifles are very heavy. As I mentioned before, this gun comes in at 10 pounds, 7 ounces. I've taken it on 2 backpacking hunts, and I plan on taking it on a whole lot more. It was not always in this configuration, but it's been around that same weight. If you can cut weight, that is always good, especially if you have something that's designed to mitigate recoil on the end of your gun, like a suppressor or a muzzle brake. But I would focus more on shootability first, and then figure out something that you can shave some weight off of, if that is really that big of a concern. Pounds do make a difference, and a rifle is something that you can cut literal pounds out of. Change a stock, change a scope, take the can off, use a different bipod, all of a sudden I can get this exact same gun, exact same cartridge, probably down to that 8-pound range. I wouldn't like to shoot it, and so I want to be able to practice with this gun in the same configuration I'm going to hunt with. For elk, I'm usually not going to be more than 6 to 7 miles from the pickup total. So yeah, it's a long ways to take stuff in, but man, can it shoot. And if you have a gun that you're not confident in being able to kill an animal with, that doesn't really do you much good when you get out there. So I'm not saying you have to have a heavy gun. I'm just saying know your limitations and capabilities with the rifle that you decide to choose to hunt with. I think this is a perfect happy medium, right in that 10 to 11 pound range. Very good stability for long range shooting, but also light enough that you don't want to leave it at home all the time. On Tikkas, the trigger, this gun. Tikkas triggers are awesome from the factory, but there's a company called Mountain Tactical. They have a different spring that you can put in. Factory trigger, all you do is pull out the old spring, put the new spring in, and it makes this thing not quite a hair trigger, but man, oh man. This is at 1.8 pounds, just under 2 pounds. So you can still get, your finger on it and not, I'm not hitting it hard, but I am tapping it, and it's not gonna go off without me wanting it to. But then once you start actually applying pressure, whew, it goes off pretty quick. So good clean strikes, haven't had any issues. Absolutely love this gun. Well, hopefully you found that video helpful, or at least had somewhat agreeance or disagreeance and opinion. If you say something in a comment below, I don't want to try and fish for comments and attention, but the reality is the algorithms in YouTube work a lot better when we get some likes and some comments. So if you want to share this with a buddy, or you want to take a look at it over and over again, or you just want to say, hey, I disagree with your opinion, I'd love to hear some ideas that you think might be better. But long and the short of it, what I hope to get in your head out of this is, number one, have a purpose and an understanding of why you are doing things. I built a gun to meet the needs that I wanted it to meet, And I think this gun does everything I want it to do very, very well. There's a couple minor things I can maybe tweak on it, but for right now, that is going to be my hunting setup for this coming year, and I'm super stoked to be using it. Another thing to consider, please, please, please shoot your guns. Practice, practice, practice. A guy with a gun a tenth of the cost of that one that goes and puts 200-300 rounds through his gun a year, shooting a lot, is going to be a lot better suited than someone who just buys a fancy gun off the shelf and put 5 to 10 rounds through it a season. So please go practice with your gun, get super competent, make sure you're good and dialed, and stay zeroed out there.